Back. We continue here. 6 candidates are in the running to take over when NPA head Advocate Shamila Batohi's term comes to an end in January next year. The Justice Minister Mmamoloko Kubayi says the candidates were whittled down from 32 applications. Candidates include former Investigating Directorate head Hermione Cronje, IDAC boss Andrea Johnson, as well as former prosecutions boss Menzi Simelane. The candidates are set to undergo interview processes next month. A panel will then present its recommendations to President Cyril Ramaphosa.
The advisory panel, chaired by Minister Mmamoloko Kubayi and appointed by the President to assist in the selection of the next National Director of Public Prosecutions, has concluded its screening process and identified 6 candidates who meet the minimum requirements for the position. The panel noted that this represents an important step towards ensuring a transparent, credible and inclusive process. The panel further indicated that in line with its commitment to openness, members of the public and institutions are invited to submit comments on these candidates by 5 December 2025, ahead of the interviews scheduled for 10 and 11 December.
Let's get reaction now. Center for Development and Enterprise Executive Director Anne Bernstein joins us now for more. And good to have you on the program. So firstly, what are the key qualities in your view and skills that the advisory panel should be looking at, especially when deciding on a new head for the NDPP, given the challenges especially facing the authority currently?
Good evening. Let's start at the beginning. What we're doing here is appointing somebody to a really important position in our country. And what is at stake is the rule of law. We're currently watching the criminal justice system's unbelievable infiltration and chaos and corruption that's being evidenced in the Madlanga Commission and the ad hoc parliamentary committee. And so the stakes are very high. This is the key institution that can prosecute and must prosecute people without fear or favor, however important they are in our society. Now, this organization was at the heart of state capture, and it's quite clear, although some progress has been made, it's not nearly sufficient. And the next head of the NPA is an absolutely vital appointment. I think one of the questions to this panel is, what were the criteria by which they chose these 6 candidates? We've done a lot of work on this over the last year, and we have made very firm recommendations on the nature of the panel that was required by the President to choose the next head of the NPA.
Right.
We were very disappointed by the composition of the panel. We could talk about that. But now we are looking at moving towards a selection process. And I think it's fair to ask, what criteria are the panel going to judge these candidates by? One of the most important things is, how do you turn an institution that is not performing at the level the country requires, how do you turn it around? And that's why we wanted a senior change agent or business leader or public sector manager to be on the panel, because we are looking for somebody of absolute integrity with critical legal experience, but also somebody who knows how to turn an organization that's gone bad around.
Yeah. And I want you to pick up on some of the remarks you touched on a bit earlier, especially when expressing some disappointment in how this advisory panel was set up. What concerns were raised here?
Well, it's the composition of the panel. Now, notwithstanding the, I'm sure, excellent individuals involved, we were looking for a panel that represented a broader sweep of society. We needed, there's no one from the judiciary there. There's no one from the legal profession as a whole. There is no business person with managerial experience. We had also suggested a former senior civil servant with management experience in the public sector, not on the panel, nobody from civil society. So we were looking for a panel that could command nationwide respect in this very important appointment process.
Yeah. Also, Justice Minister Mmamoloko Kubayi did say that the candidates were pushed down to about, from 32 to about 6 candidates now. Very interesting names coming up. I'll highlight a few. Hermione Cronje is a name that comes up. IDAC boss Andrea Johnson, that we also saw giving her testimony at the ad hoc proceedings in Parliament. Former prosecutions boss Menzi Simelane also coming up as well. Do you think, for instance, the 6 shortlisted candidates, do they have the necessary expertise to tackle high-level corruption and organized crime in this country?
Well, I'm not going to comment on the individual candidates.
Sure.
Perhaps just to say that Advocate Simelane was an extremely surprising choice. We're really saying at this stage of the process, it would be very helpful to know what criteria by which this group of 32 was whittled down to 6 people. And I'm naming some of the criteria we think are important.
Sure.
But as of now, we haven't had criteria from the panel, and I think we need them. We're saying that absolute integrity is important, and management experience, as well as legal expertise. This is a very difficult job. You're going to have to fight for the independence of the institution, for its right to prosecute very important people who might be accused of corruption. But bear in mind, we have not successfully prosecuted anybody at a senior level that the Zondo Commission said should be investigated and possibly prosecuted. And there are a lot of other commissions as well. We're awaiting, in time we'll get the Mandlang Commission, and we need a prosecuting service that is both excellent and led by the right person. And that is important. So let's see what the criteria the panel have come up with. I think the public deserve to know what is at stake is the country's commitment and ability to implement the rule of law.
Before we let you go, how important is it in your view for the next NDPP to indeed have experience working for the prosecution's body versus external experience in anti-corruption or even law enforcement?
Look, we consulted a lot of former judges and leading advocates in making our recommendations, and their view was that you need somebody of excellent legal experience and training, not necessarily a prosecutor themselves, but somebody who can lead an organization and can get rid of the corrupt and incompetent who might be in that organization and get a whole new culture of excellence going in terms of prosecution. So management is absolutely key here, as well as integrity and commitment to the Constitution and the rule of law, and the ability to turn the NPA into the institution South Africa desperately requires.
Yeah, we currently have 2 parallel processes that are investigating this alleged infiltration of the criminal justice system. Maybe before we end, let's look into that. How can the NPA then ensure that this new prosecution's boss is indeed insulated from political interference and has also this necessary support to do their job effectively?
Well, we need somebody who's strong enough that if they are made an offer to become the new head of the NPA, they have to specify conditions. For example, one of my conditions would be that the NPA has full, unrestricted access to the archives of the Zondo Commission, which the Justice Ministry has not given them. So that's one condition. So we need a fighter. We need a very unusual person for an extremely difficult job, and that's why we wanted a different composition of the selection panel. But I'm now saying that in the absence of that, it's really important we understand the criteria the selection panel are going to use. We have ours at CDE. We've gone public on those after lots of consultation of very senior legal experts in the country. What are the criteria that this panel is going to use? Where do they see management experience? Where do they see independence? Where do they see the ability to fight the executive to get the budget they need and the access they need and the independence?
And Bernstein, thank you so much for giving us your perspective. Of course, as Shamila Batohi's term comes to an end in January next year.